Council in the Merrifield Community Centre, 106 Reed Street, at 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, November the 17th, 2020. And I'm calling this meeting to order. And I just remind folks that while we are well spread out, the guidelines are to please keep your masks on. We ask everybody, when the opportunity comes later on, to speak as loudly as you can. It's one thing to project your voice, but it's another thing to please speak slowly. There is obviously the mumbling factor with the masks on, but all worthwhile to keep everybody safe. I do have a motion. Before I do that, I would ask if any members of council have a pecuniary interest to declare. And I'm looking to my left, no, and to my right, no, none noted. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And I have a motion for the agenda this evening. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for that. Thank you, Mr. Foster and Mr. Malloy. Be it hereby resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Merrifield does hereby approve the agenda of the special council meeting of November the 17th, 2020 as circulated. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And a mover and a seconder for us to move into our public meeting under the Planning Act. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Thank you, Mr. Cameron, and seconded by Mr. Helpney. Be it hereby resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Merrifield-Wolford does hereby move to a public meeting under sections 51(20) and 21 and section 34 of the Planning Act as amended. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. So as we get into the public meeting, I'll just go over a wee bit at the beginning the format for this evening and what is required under the Planning Act to follow. So the public meeting format for the consideration of a proposed draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment applications. United Counties File 07-T-20202 for lands described as part of lots 1 and 9, block 16, lots 190 to 192, part of lots 193 to 196, Plan 6, Village of Merrifield-Wolford. And I'm calling this public meeting to order at 7:35 p.m. As required under sections 51(20) and 34(12) of the Planning Act RSO 1990. This public meeting is being held for the purpose of providing the public with information and material related to the proposed draft plan of subdivision and draft zoning bylaw amendment. This is the public's opportunity to provide comments on the proposed development applications prior to the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville making a decision on the draft plan subdivision and the Village Council making a decision on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. The proposed residential plan of subdivision consists of 43 lots, 38 to be developed with single detached dwellings, and 5 to be developed with semi-detached dwellings for a total of 48 residential units planned for the site. The lots are to be serviced by municipal water and sewer. The corresponding bylaw amendment is to rezone the 3.54 hectare property from development to residential 2 exception R2X to permit the development of 48 residential units. All provisions of the R2 zone will apply to the R2EX zone exception for lot frontage, which is requested to be reduced from 18 meters to 12 meters. All other provisions of the village's zoning bylaw number 23-08 shall apply. So, in case we're not familiar with everybody with the mask on, I am Doug Struthers, and I'm chairing this part of the public meeting. And council members present are Mr. Foster, Mr. Malloy, Mr. Helpney, Mr. Cameron, and staff with us this evening are our CAO, Mr. Robertson, and our Deputy Clerk, Christina Conklin. This public meeting is intended to provide the public with information material related to the proposed subdivision and to give the public an opportunity to make presentation to the council regarding their thoughts on both the draft plan of subdivision and proposed zoning bylaw amendment. It is the Council's responsibility to consider all the facts and to deliberate on the merits of both applications. At any time during the proceedings, Council members may ask questions through the Chair to obtain information or seek clarification of statements. Those members of the public who wish to be heard on this matter will be asked to make a statement to the proposed draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment. If the member of the public wishes to ask questions or seek clarification, will please ask those questions through the Chair, and I will direct to the best person to respond to the question. So today's proceedings are as follows, and I'm going to ask staff to indicate the notice of the public meeting for this special meeting this evening. Christina.
Thank you, Your Worship. A notice of this meeting was given through an advertisement in the Kemptville Advance, through regular mail to residents within 120 meters of the subject lands, on our municipal website, and through signage that was placed on the subject lands.
Thank you very much. The applicant will present their planning justification report, providing an overview of the nature of the application. And I do believe everybody should have a copy of that. It was placed out on the chairs since we don't have a projection this evening of a slide presentation. Any person who has attended this public meeting will be provided an opportunity to comment on the proposed development applications. The applicant will be provided an opportunity to respond to comments made or questions asked by the public. Notice of appeal rights. Excuse me. Please be cautioned that the public only have the right of appeal on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application. Recent changes to the Planning Act under Bill 108 have removed the public's rights to appeal decisions on the draft plans of subdivision. Regarding rights of appeal on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, only those persons who make oral submissions at this public meeting or make written submissions to the Village of Mayor for Wolford before a decision is made by Council will have a right to appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal. Notwithstanding the recent changes to the Planning Act regarding subdivision appeal rights, public comments are very important and valued by Council and will be given careful consideration by Council in terms of its recommendations and actions. And so at this point, I will be asking the applicant to make their presentation of planning justification. And with us this evening, we do have Mr. Pat McLean, who is the owner of McLean Landing, and Lee Sheets from Novatech, who is supportive of the applicant. And the planner for, for the applicant is James Ireland of Novatech, and James will be making his presentation of planning justification, all of which you should have a copy of. So I, at this point, turn it over to Mr. Ireland. Sorry, before I do that, we do have a question, and I'd ask you to state your name and your address, what your question is.
Question of clarification.
Yes. Your name and address, please.
Yes, Mike Venables, 171 County Road 23.
Thank you.
The question is, the count is 43 single residential lots and 5 semi-detached. And I'm just asking about the count. So the 5 semi-detached.
So what we'll do is we'll have the presentation by the planner, and we can ask questions of that nature at that point.
Okay, just want to understand that.
Yeah, we'll get that. Yep, okay. You'll be the first person to ask a question after the presentation, all right? Thank you. So over to you, Mr. Ireland.
Okay, thank you very much.
And we ask you to speak loudly and project for everybody in the room.
So I've done this once already tonight. No one stayed for the encore performance, so it wasn't so good. I'm just going to go through the presentation you have in your hands. I'm sure you're all aware where the site is. It's to the west of the Phase 1 subdivision on Southerton Road, between County Road 15 and 16. When Phase 1 subdivision was developed, the stormwater pond area and the servicing was all designed with the second phase in mind. That's important to remember. As the Mayor said, site residential too. So if you just go to the proposed draft plan subdivision. That's where the 43 residential lots range in size from the smallest 454 square metres, the largest is 1,142 square metres. All the lots are connected to urban services, so that being sanitary sewer, stormwater and water mains. Single detached dwellings would be permitted on any or all of the lots, so potentially 43 single dwellings would be developed. There are 6 lots there which could potentially be developed for semi-detached dwellings, so the theoretical maximum is 49. The 2 streets, Sophie Lane and Irene Street, to be extended, and then connect through to County Road 16. There will also be the potential for connection to the north to the Mercury Road subdivision there. The proposed zoning bylaw amendments that we're seeking is to retain the residential 2 zoning, but it's to reduce the minimum width of the lots from 18 metres to actually 15 metres is what we require on each lot. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you very much. So at this point, we'll ask if there are any questions or comments, and in so doing, again, ask you to stand up and state your name and your address and speak as loudly and clearly as possible. And back to you, sir.
Okay, my name is Mike Mantle, 171 County Road 23. I'm asking about the 5 or the 6 additional lots for the semi-detached dwelling. So you're talking about 5 or 6 lots, each with a semi-detached dwelling on it. So it will be 2 families on each of the 5 or 6 lots, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so whatever the total number is, 48 or 49, would represent 58 or 60 families, if my math is correct.
So there's 48, 49 houses maximum. So assuming it's 1 family in each house, it's the same number. 48 or 49.
So the smaller lots, the 12-meter lot for the semi-detached, would be 1/2 of the semi-detached, and the other half would be on another 12-meter lot.
There's 43 lots, of which 6 can be developed into semi-detached.
48 of which 6 could, yes, okay.
43, 6 of which can be developed into semi-detached.
Okay,
Right?
so that would be 46. 43 plus, yeah,
So it's 37 plus 12 is the maximum.
gotcha.
Right? So we have the 37 singles and the potential. Although the developer could choose to build singles on those 6, it could still be 43. Or anywhere from 43 to 49, depending on the potential of those lots that have 18 meters of frontage.
Gotcha, thank you very much.
It is confusing.
Any other questions? So both hands go up at the same time, so I'll go from my left to my right if gentlemen don't mind. So we ask you to stand and state your name and your address and speak clearly. Thank you.
Okay, Bill McLean, 511 St. Lawrence Street. So I'm just wondering, looking at the map, the lots look like really tiny. So I'm just wondering why the developer would develop or put forward, knowing that the minimum lot size is 18 meters frontage, why he would want to develop lot lines that are only 12 meters, so he can put more houses in. But how close together would the houses be between each other? You know, like they're going to look like Kempville, like, what are they going to be, 3 feet apart? You know, so I'm just looking at, you know, what the village looks like now, and now we're going to get a bunch of sardine-type houses built up on the hill, and, you know, just, I don't think that it's going to fit the way that the village is planned out now. And I just don't really see why they have to try and squeeze that many more houses into a space that's really not designed for it. And they knew that it was only 18 feet, so now they're asking for 12. So like, why would you do that?
Did you want to comment on that, sir?
I can answer that. If the lots have frontages of 18 metres, they can have a semi-detached on there, because you have to have 9 metres for each half of the centre. So if we had all 18 metre lots, all the lots would have 2, would have a semi-detached house on there. So actually by reducing it, and it's going to only be 15, you can't put a semi-detached. So the potential number of houses may actually be less than if we were sticking with the 18.
Okay. Nick, you're
Presage 517 Elgin Street. Mr. Mayor, or perhaps Mr. Robertson can answer the question. Are there development fees being charged to the developer for this development?
We don't have development fees, is that correct?
So, Your Worship, through your worship, there's two types of fees. There's development charges and then there's development fees.
Right.
Municipality has development fees in a bylaw, but not development charges. And the terms of the conditions of approval would all be determined at council at the time that you approve the draft plan, draft conditions.
Thank you.
So if I understand correctly, there are no development charges being levied against this particular development.
None
Is
of
that correct?
No.
So, Your Worship, we do not have development charges in the village at this time.
And can you tell me why not? Why, when every other community around Merrickville charges development charges, why is this community not doing so?
I guess the answer is over the history of the municipality development, we've gone to the development fee process as opposed to charges. Can't give you the history of why not, but good question. It's a tool the municipality could consider. Thank you.
Well, it's been raised before, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I mean, every other community charges development charges in order to help offset the impact that the development has on the rest of the community. It goes towards recreation, library charges, health services, road allowances, all these things. But this community decides not to. And not only for this development, but for Merrickville Grove as well. So why is that the case?
Well, I'm not going to debate it this evening. The other side of that is you then also end up having those charges being added to the cost of the house
Let
itself.
them add to the cost of the developers. I mean, every other community does that. Why?
And that's the challenge communities end up with in terms of ending up with housing that is affordable if your development charges are too high. But this is it's not a debate on that this evening. It's a special meeting on the application for the Phase 2 of McLean Landing. But I appreciate your comments. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the application? No, and I know council members at the earlier meeting, which was very same as this meeting to accommodate people, had one question. I'm not sure if there are any other questions this evening from council members. So with that, I will indicate that. I'm sorry, you do have another question? Yep.
Yes, Nick Presage, 517 Elgin Street.
Thank you.
One of the concerns here that was expressed at the Merrickville Grove development was the density of this development proposal plus the one in Merrickville Grove places a huge amount of impact on residential transportation, quality of life. How is that being addressed as a cumulative effect between what is being proposed for this development and the same development organization being proposed for the Merrickville Grove? How is that being addressed?
Yeah. Well, that's not what we're doing this evening.
No, I'm asking what is the impact of this development with the one that Parkview Homes has received approval for previously?
Well, we would see that
by the municipality.
Okay. I'm not going to be argumentative, sir. Those things get identified in terms of the traffic study that's being done, those kinds of things. There's no analysis, if you will, at this point to say what an impact of, I'll say 48 houses would be up in that corner of the municipality in terms of the village portion.
Are you telling me that the municipality has done no analysis whatsoever?
Well, when you look at the,
Cumulative impact of this development plus Miracle Grove. Is that
I
what you're
guess
saying?
if you look at it, it started the official plan, which encourages growth. The municipality can handle that kind of growth. Very similar to Merrickville Estates, phase 1, 2, and 3, which is in round numbers 70 houses, 69, 70 houses. That's been incorporated in terms of the viability of the municipality and its impact, not just in the village, but the other parts of our rural municipality. But again, I would say to you, sir, this evening is a special meeting specifically for the application of Phase 2 of McLean Landing. So it's the asking of your questions and comments.
Can you please tell me what the cumulative impact is of your proposal this evening, plus the proposal that you provided about Miracle Grove? What is the cumulative impact? Have you done an analysis of that, sir? Go ahead.
I tried. I'll try again. I didn't make any presentation with respect to Miracle Grove. I'm not a consultant for the record for the Miracle Grove subdivision. I'm here to represent Mr. McLean and the McLean Landing Phase 2. We did a serviceability report for this site, looking at the cumulative impacts downstream on the sewer system and on the water system. We did a report on the traffic, the impacts of this development on the surrounding community. We did an environmental impact statement. They're all online. All of the reports completed to support this development.
And the impacts were incorporating the impacts that Miracle Grove also has on the community. Is that correct?
We did not.
Okay, so there is none done. Is this the representative of Parkview Homes? Or?
No.
Is any representative of Parkview Home here?
This is not a Parkview Homes, sir.
This is McLean Landing up at the corner of County Road 15 and 16.
Is Parkview Home not the developer of that development?
No.
Okay, my apologies.
Is there any other questions? So none noted. Thank you very much for everybody. This public meeting is now concluded. Following this public meeting, the council will reconvene its regular session of the meeting. The meeting is open to the public, and the people who have participated in the public meeting are welcome to remain and observe the council proceedings. However, the council meeting is not open for comments or questions from the public as it is a special council meeting, and we request that people in attendance refrain from making comments or taking actions that could interrupt or interfere with the balance of the council meeting. Council may decide to defer, this next part is part of the Planning Act statement. The council may decide to defer consideration of the applications to allow for further information and clarification. The council may also decide to recommend approval of the applications with or without specific terms and conditions. The council may also decide to recommend to the applicants be refused, stating the reasons why such action should be taken. Following the public meeting, council will be responsible for making a recommendation to the United Counties to the approval authority for plans of subdivision, including any conditions council may deem appropriate for the draft plan of subdivision. This will be done at a future council meeting upon receipt of the final report from our consultant planner. Council will also be responsible for considering the approval of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment intended to implement the subdivision. And we will now have a motion, thank you, resolution to return to the regular session of the special council meeting. So if I have a mover and a seconder for that, please. Thank you, Mr. Malloy and Mr. Foster. Be it hereby resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Merrickville does now hereby return to the regular session of the special council meeting. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And this is a motion that for council to consider. It was read out loud but not dealt with at the first meeting. And it's the motion to recommend staff bringing back and the consultant planners to report to council. So if I could have a mover and a second to put the motion on the table. Sorry?
I didn't hear what you were saying, what you read.
So read the motion, and then we can have a mover and a seconder if you're better with that. That the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Miracle Wolford does hereby direct JP2G Consultants Incorporated to bring forward a report to Council on the December 14th, 2020 meeting with recommendations regarding how best to proceed with the consideration of the McLean Landing Phase 2 subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment applications, as well as an assessment of public comments and written submissions received. So in other words, our consultant planners will be able to report back of not just the proceedings and comments this evening, but any other written comments that are received between now and I do believe that the date is December the 7th. So the consultant planner can have that all consolidated with council.
Sorry for interrupting, Your Worship. So the date of the council meeting is December 14th,
yes.
And the date that we're requesting people submit their comments to be incorporated into that consultant's report on that date would be December 9th.
December 9th.
So the consultant has an opportunity to consider.
Thank you. So could I have a mover and a seconder for that motion, please? Thank you, Mr. Foster, and seconded by Mr. Malloy. We're all in favor? And the motion is carried. Thank you. And this is our confirmatory bylaw for this evening's meeting. So a mover and a seconder for that, please. Thank you, Mr. Helpney, and seconded by Mr. Malloy. Be it hereby resolved that bylaw 61-2020, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the special council meeting of November the 17th, 2020, be read a first and second time, and that bylaw 61-2020 be read a third and final time and passed. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And this is the motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Foster, and seconded by, thank you, Mr. Malloy. Be it hereby resolved that the special meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Miracle Wolford does now adjourn at 8 p.m. until the next regular meeting of Council on Monday, November the 23rd, 2020 at 7 p.m. or until the call of the Mayor is subject to need. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for attending, and thank you for respecting social distancing and wearing masks.